Love the yard, but playing tag out here is not easy. So no tree looming over the house anymore. Don't have to worry about 60-pound branches falling onto the house and possibly damaging it. We're still getting some remnants of ball moss and stuff up here that got to clean off occasionally. I have some gutter guards that I plan on putting up to kind of block stuff from getting in the gutters. But yeah, this is where the tree used to be. This was that huge trunk that was kind of branching off this way and up and over the house. We still get some pretty good shade here, but now when the sun comes across it, we definitely don't have as much shade as we used to. But I had them cut it in such a way that kind of gave me a little table right here. So now I have a place to put a refreshing beverage. I might actually make a really cool kind of a organically shaped wooden top to this and attach it so you can actually stand here and use it as kind of like a little bar top. But what do you guys think? Pretty cool. And I was able to save this oak lumber, the stuff that we cut off. So now I have about 10 feet of really natural oak that, you know, we're going to see what we can do with it. But so far, this worked out really well. And yeah, you guys were right. Definitely hire a company that knows how to do this stuff, because I have no idea what would have happened if I would have tried to tackle this project myself of removing this branch. You really don't understand the weights until you start to hear parts of it fall. So he basically took his truck, boomed it out over here. He would cut a branch after he latched around it with a crane. He'd pull it back and drop it. And when you heard some of those hit the ground, you're like, man, there's a lot of weight there. So smart thing to do was definitely call a company that knew what they were doing. All right, I have an interesting thing that I have to check out. Pool's looking really clean. A saltwater generator that was originally what we installed actually stopped working. So no matter how much salt I added, it kept saying low salt. Then I finally tested out the water and realized that I was way too high in terms of salt concentrated in the water. So we drained some water, put water back in, put a new saltwater generator on, and everything's been working out really good now. All the levels have been really nice. Pool is staying nice and blue, nice and clear, just the way we want it. We had one of our dogs have a little accident here on both rugs, and yeah, we had to get them all cleaned. So we took them out here, cleaned them off, pressure sprayed them, used detergent, and hung them out here to dry yesterday. They almost dried. They were still a little damp. Then it rained last night, so they're soaked again. So they'll be out here for the foreseeable future. See the water on the deck still. If you guys didn't see this little shower area we built out here, pretty cool, huh? I plumbed all that in right there, and it's just plumbed in using hoses. So the hoses come in right here. One deviates that way, one diverts that way, and we can use one for the pool, we can use one for the shower area. And then I use this little screen material that I actually had. I had a lot of this stuff. We were going to screen in another project a long time ago, never got around to it, but I was able to reuse it in here, so it gives you privacy. And because it's very porous, water can drain out no problem, and it gets a nice breeze in here to keep it fresh. The swing sets have been working out great. It's one of my daughter's favorite areas, as you could probably imagine. Had some big branches that fell, so check out all this stuff right here, how it just falls down. It's kind of crazy. When the wind comes through, you don't know what's going to fall out of these trees. But yeah, that kind of stuff piles up very quickly into a huge pile of debris that we threw on the dump trailer. But you can see more of it hanging down right there, and all that stuff's going to be ready to come down real soon too. So this morning, my wife asked me a very interesting question related to the deck that's out here. She asked me if I felt it was strong enough to be able to support the weight of a lot of people. So this deck is pretty old, and with time, lumber starts to do funny things, especially from a structural perspective. And right now you walk on it and it feels like you're walking on concrete. I mean, it's really sturdy. But many of you probably saw the video where we were rebuilding the pond, and I looked underneath here and you can see that there's been a lot of erosion. The sand that is pretty much what makes up all the soil out here kind of eroded away as this pond's been here for a while. A lot of concrete under here as well. But she wanted to know if we have a big family gathering out here, is there some type of risk that this could fail? And what I told her was there's really no absolute way of knowing unless you start removing lumber and checking underneath to see what the structure looks like. If there's, you know, a lot of wood rot, if there are areas where wood looks like it's on the border of catastrophically failing. From the top, you really can't feel it, and there are no boards that are so soft up top that if you step on, you have this fear that you're going to fall through. And that's a really good sign. It doesn't mean that there's not, you know, major structural issues underneath it. It doesn't feel like there are, but again, until a board actually fails, you oftentimes can't really tell what's going on unless you can look down at it. So removing some of the boards, I'd be able to get underneath there. I could probably probe around and see what condition everything's in. But everything up top feels pretty stable. And what's nice about that is, you know, none of these boards appear, and these are all 2x6s, so none of these 2x6s appear as if they're on the verge of failing. And because of that, even if there is a board or a beam underneath that does fail, you're likely to get more of a spongy effect from the board that is on top versus something that just fails right under. And I can see where all the reinforcement braces are, where all the beams are, basically where all the nails line up. And it's kind of interesting how this whole thing was erected because, yeah, it's definitely got a lot of support in a lot of areas. But again, there are certain areas that if you press down on lumber, if you see them go in, you can obviously tell that the board that they're connected to has failed or rotted or is no longer connected. Now, if you stand on the edge over here or the edge over there, those edges are kind of hanging over, so you do feel a little bit of movement. You probably won't be able to tell right here. Actually, you don't feel much here. But you do feel a little bit right here. You see just a little bit. But again, it feels very sturdy. It does not feel as if it's in any type of risk of failing. You look up top here, as old as this is, oh, that needs to come down. But yeah, as old as this is, it was built pretty well. They did a pretty good job. They used all the right hangers, they used all the right lumber, and it's been here for a while. So again, I don't think it's in any, you know, dire risk of failing. There's not a lot of rust up here. There's a little bit of rust. We got some areas that are leaking, but they're only leaking because of the nails that were used to hold the tin down to the top of the lumber, and then there's some water that's resting in some areas up there. It just puddles up a little bit where you can see it's dripping, and it comes through those holes. But I think this place checks out. I don't see anything that's majorly concerning. You can grab one of the 4x4 posts here and it really doesn't move. I mean, it's been cross braced and stabilized very well. And yeah, I think we could use this for several more years before deciding what we ultimately want to do here. One of the ideas was that we convert this into like a little casita. So basically we would tear all this down, we'd rebuild it, but then we would have a little house here that would be about 8 feet, probably 10 feet deep by about, you know, probably close to 25 feet long. And it would have nice French doors going off of a bedroom, then one off of a small living room. It'll have a small bathroom and shower in it. But basically you could either have guests over, we could, you know, lay in the bed, look out, see the pond, have a nice little TV in the corner, have a little fireplace in here, but just have a really cool little place back here that we could use for guests. We could use it for a little party area, or even just kind of like an outside recreational area. So you would still have a deck. So the actual casita would probably go from the edge there to about here, and then you'd have another 8 feet of deck that you would walk out through the French doors and see the pond in front of you. And at night, this pond looks absolutely beautiful with the lights hitting the fountain right there and all the trees around you. And then we could do lighting all around it. It's just kind of a cool concept that we've been throwing around. But yeah, this is definitely one of those areas that we really want to utilize more. We just haven't really had much of a chance to yet because of all the other projects that have been taking place around here. But very cool. And then we have these mounds right here, which you might not be able to see, but they're about 3 feet tall. Some of them are about 2 feet tall. We got another one right over here. But yeah, we'd definitely like to put these to use and maybe build them up slightly. I'd love to build some hills back here because I love to ride my mountain bike around this area. And it'd be really cool to build a few little obstacles around here, things that I could kind of ride over and around to get a better workout in. We're probably going to reposition some of that lumber right there to a rack so we can kind of keep it out of the way, because the rack that it's on is pretty much turned to rot, and it's not holding much anymore. But yeah, the big project coming up back here is going to be what we do with this area. And then of course we have the big project way over there that will be tied to the barn, and when we start constructing that, that's going to be like a 3-month project, because once we get the slab poured, we still got to wait a couple of months for all the materials to come in and for it to get built. Looks like we're going to get some rain though. Anyways guys, just wanted to give you a quick little property update out here. Got a lot of different things going on in a lot of different areas. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of upkeep. Man, I love that tree. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's probably 40 feet tall and just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that's definitely one of the centerpieces of this property that I love to see, and we're going to keep it here and not do anything with that one. Actually, we're trying to save as many trees as possible, to be honest, because we got a lot of them out here, and they definitely make the property look beautiful and natural. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, take a moment, please. Subscribe to the channel. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. We'll talk to you again real soon.